Hi, I'm Bob Jers with United Food Service Solutions, your Henny distributor for Michigan. And we're going to talk about the Henny FlexFusion Combi oven, which is a perfect choice for a high volume kitchen where food quality, time, and consistency are key. We're going to talk about the Henny FlexFusion Combi oven's Chef Touch operating system, which has a variety of pre-programmed menu items, apps, and other functions to help make your kitchen run more smoothly and efficiently. On the main screen, you'll see on the Combi oven, we have an auto chef function, and then we have a manual cooking function. And in the middle, there's a settings function, or as it's labeled, a device functions button that will help you work through the menu with ease. In the auto chef program, there are a great variety of pre-programmed menu items that you can choose ahead of time and use as you see fit, or you can go into the manual cooking option where you can set your own time, temperature, and humidity control. In the device functions setting in the middle is where we'll go to change different parameters on the unit, as well as to do our wave clean program, which we'll talk about later in the demonstration. I'm going to talk about a variety of features today, but let's start out by cooking something. We're going to start today with a poached salmon and spinach recipe. I've programmed these into the unit already, so we can simply go into the Auto Chef program by touching the touch screen, and it brings up our favorites menu automatically. If you go into the favorites menu and you want to just use a pre-programmed item, you can push Auto Chef at the top again, and it will take you into the pre-programmed items where you can choose anything from meat and veggies to rethermalization, fish and seafood, or even sous vide. We're going to use the top left button, which is a counterclockwise arrow around a home, to take us to the previous screen, which is our favorites menu. In the favorites menu, I have already pre-programmed poached salmon and spinach. There's a little photo there as well. And we just push this button and it's going to load the cooking program. The information screen will appear. And then the cooking program that I've already put in is up where you can see it. I've programmed 3 different steps for this particular program. We are going to start with 100% steam. The nice thing about the steaming on the Henny FlexFusion Combi is it doesn't have to be done at 212 degrees. It can be done anywhere from 86 degrees to 266 degrees. We use a boilerless system, which is important for maintenance issues down the road. If you've ever used a boiler system, they can get full of scale and fail. Our Dynasteam system, on the other hand, produces steam on demand. So there's a freshwater line that comes into the unit as well as a drain, and the fresh water comes and is routed around the exhaust in the back of the unit. So as we're cooking, the exhaust vapors go out through the pipe in the back, and that heats a tube that the water runs through. That preheats the water, and then it's sprayed onto a fan and immediately turns into steam. It's important to be able to cook at a lower temperature for more delicate items. For instance, today the poached salmon and spinach are going to be cooked at 180 degrees. This gives us the perfect end product. It keeps the spinach greens nice and vibrant green and cooks our fish perfectly. Whereas you can cook higher steaming temperatures up to 266 degrees if you're cooking, for instance, a full load of frozen item or things like root vegetables. The higher temperature in the steam environment helps to bring out some of the flavors in the root vegetables. Once our program is loaded, in the top left there's a green start button. We're going to push that button and the oven will start its process. It comes up with a preheat screen. We're starting from a cold cabinet, so it tells us that our internal temperature is 74 degrees on the bottom and our set point is 180 degrees. As that's preheating, we can get our product ready. Here I've got some nice pieces of salmon cut into 4 portions. I have a perforated pan. I'm just going to lightly season these. I have some lemon pepper, that I'll put on our salmon fillets, and we're going to add a little bit of salt. Once we've done that, we're going to place the salmon fillets into our perforated pan and place a lemon slice on top of each one of these pieces. Our oven's at 135. It'll be up to temperature in just a minute here. Once it comes up to temperature, it will tell us to load the salmon. After we've loaded the salmon, it will cook for a set period of time that I've put in the programming, and then we'll get another prompt on the screen once the internal temperature of the salmon reaches 99 degrees to add our spinach. We're just going to put our spinach right in on top of the salmon and then close the door, and it will continue cooking the salmon until we reach the predetermined set point of 127 degrees. The way we're going to do this is when I put the product into the oven, there is a temperature probe in the cabinet. I'll insert the temperature probe into one of our fillets, and it has 4 sensors along the length of the temperature probe. So you don't count on a single sensor and getting it in the exact right place on the product. It will take the lowest temperature of those 4 points and use that as the set point so that we make sure that we're getting a fully cooked product and we're serving our customers something that's cooked perfectly. Once the unit's ready for us to load a product, there will be a tone that comes from the board that can be adjusted up and down to different volumes depending on the noise in your kitchen, and you can adjust the tone to your liking. It tells us on the screen that the preheat temperature has been reached. Please load the product. Whenever I open the Combi door, just like when you open your oven at home, I crack it just a little bit to let some of the heat and steam out so that it doesn't all come onto us when it's opened. I'm going to load the product on the rack in here, and down below is our temperature probe that I'm going to insert into one of our fillets. Once we have that inserted in the fillets, I can close the door, and the unit will ask me, did I put the temperature probe in place? To make sure we have that in there, because this particular program is set up to use that probe to cook. It's not cooking a certain amount of time. If you don't push the check mark within a few seconds, it's just going to assume that you put it in and automatically go into the cooking program. You saw when I opened the door that I was able to handle the cooking probe with my bare hands. That's because we're cooking at such a low temperature. Keep in mind, if you're cooking something with a temperature probe at a much hotter temperature, you're going to want an oven mitt or a heat protective glove on so that you don't burn your hand on the temperature probe. The FlexFusion Combi allows you to adjust your amount of humidity in the cabinet in 10% increments from 0 all the way up to 100. So not only can we give 100% humidity and steam items, we can also extract humidity when we're cooking things like a steak, for instance, that we'll cook later. The extraction of humidity will allow us to fry and grill items without having to start up another char griller, which is just another item that we would have to clean later. You can do it in your Combi oven. While our salmon's cooking, let's talk a little bit about some of the features of the FlexFusion Combi oven. The FlexFusion Combi oven uses 36% less energy using our 2-in-1 wave clean system, where you'll get a perfectly cleaned oven after using just one container of the cleaner. The 2-in-1 cleaner pods for the Henny FlexFusion Combi oven look just like this. When it comes time, we'll demonstrate the wave clean, but I want to show you what this cartridge looks like. The cap just comes off the top here, and inside it's already got a detergent and a rinse agent separated by small layers of wax. The wax material inside melts at different temperatures. So when the oven reaches the first step where it needs detergent, the first layer of wax will melt and the detergent will flow into the cabinet. The second layer melts at a higher temperature, and that will allow the rinse agent to flow into the cabinet. We only need to use one of these per day, as opposed to other Combi ovens that might need 2 or even 3. These are safe to handle without gloves or goggles, and they can be shipped without the hazmat designation, so that will save money as well. Another feature of the FlexFusion Combi that will save you energy is our glass door. We have an extra pane of glass over other Combi ovens. We have 3 panes of glass in there. The 3 panes of glass will save an additional 28% in energy costs. Add on top of that the high efficiency fan motor, which can save an additional 40% in energy. That's 68% in energy costs that you can save with a FlexFusion Combi oven. It's also important to note that changing the humidity doesn't just apply to steaming items. Adding moist heat to high temperature items will actually help save you money in the kitchen by cooking items faster and creating less shrinkage in your product. So if we add a small amount of moisture to the cabinet, it will cause, for instance, a whole rotisserie chicken to shrink less during the cooking process and cook faster. This is important because it yields additional product that you can sell. This may seem strange to think that moist heat can transfer more energy, but think about it this way. If you have a 500-degree oven and you open it and put your hand inside without touching anything, that can be tolerated. But if you have a boiling pot of water at 212 degrees and put your hand over the steam, you're going to suffer a burn. That's a good way to explain how moist heat transfers energy better. The FlexFusion Combi will also help you utilize labor more efficiently. This unit will run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You might wonder how you can use your FlexFusion Combi oven 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's a Delta T program as one of the apps that will allow you to do overnight cooks on things like brisket or prime rib. The Delta T program works by using the temperature probe to very slowly bring the internal temperature of the roast to match the temperature of the cabinet. Once that's completed, it switches over to an app called Perfect Hold. Perfect Hold will actively cool the cabinet to an appropriate holding temperature, and it will hold it there until you're ready to serve or store. On top of cooking your product perfectly and then holding it afterward, the Delta T program actually ages a protein from choice to prime or from select to choice and can be downloaded from the HACCP program for your records or just for your peace of mind. Sounds like our salmon has reached the internal temperature of 99 degrees. We get a chef's help message here that tells us it's time to put in the spinach. I have some spinach here to add. I'll simply open the door. You notice there's a check mark here. Open the door, let a little bit of the steam vent so that it's not all coming onto us. And then I'm just going to spread this spinach over the top of the poaching salmon. Close our door back up. Gonna push the check mark so the unit knows that we've followed the step and put the spinach in, and it's gonna continue cooking. Sounds like our poached salmon is done now, so we'll remove that from the oven. You can pull this out. Let's see our beautiful, vibrant green spinach, our poached salmon. We're just gonna set this aside and let it rest. Now we can move right on to our next cooking program. Back at our menu here, it has restarted our poached salmon program, which we don't need to cook again. But like I said before, there's the counterclockwise arrow around the home that we can push one time and it will take us right back to our favorites menu. The next thing we're going to do is make some breakfast sandwiches. I've already pre-programmed the parameters into the unit for breakfast sandwiches. It's in my top left corner here, so I can simply select that program. It will load the cooking parameters onto the board, and then again we can push the start button and it will start heating. These are going to be cooked at a higher temperature than the poached salmon, so it'll take a few minutes for the cabinet to heat up. The first chef's help reminder has popped up to let us know that once the oven has come to preheat temperature, we're going to add our bacon in. While we're waiting for our oven to preheat, let's take a look at our spinach and our salmon. Just going to take the spinach out of here. I'm going to toss it in a little bit of butter and some salt and pepper. And to go with it, I have prepared a mustard dill sauce. Very easy to prepare. It's just Dijon mustard, a little honey, a little apple cider vinegar, and some fresh cut dill. Who doesn't love fresh cut dill? Just stir these in here a little bit. You can see our salmon is cooked perfectly, flakes away nicely. Can be served with a nice slice of lemon on top. We'll make a little room here for our spinach. So there you have our first dish. We have perfectly poached salmon, and look how vibrant green that spinach stayed. That's because of that lower temperature steaming that we're doing. It was cooked at just 180 degrees. There's a delicious dish for you to serve every day of the week to your customers. And now just think, you can cook all this together at the same time. You no longer need separate pots of boiling water to steam your spinach or poach your salmon. It can all be done in the Combi oven. It can be done the exact same way every time. Doesn't matter who's using it. You simply choose the program and then put your product in when it tells you to put it in.